Book 3, Chapter 6 of the late Mr. Jonathan Wild, the Great. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Dennis Sayers. The late Mr. Jonathan Wild, the Great, by Henry Fieldin. Book 3, Chapter 6. The event of Fireblood's adventure, and a threat of marriage, which might have been concluded either at Smithfield or St. James. Fireblood returned from his enterprise unsuccessful. The gentleman happened to go home another way than he had intended, so that the whole design miscarried. Fireblood had indeed robbed the coach, and had wantonly discharged a pistol into it, which lightly wounded one of the passengers in the arm. The booty he met with was not very considerable, though much greater than that with which he acquainted Wild; for of 11 pounds in money, 2 silver watches, and a wedding ring, he produced no more than 2 guineas and the ring, which he protested with numberless oaths was his whole booty. However, when an advertisement of the robbery was published, with a reward promised for the ring and the watches, Fireblood was obliged to confess the whole, and to acquaint our hero where he pawned the watches, which Wild, taking the full value of them for his pains, restored to the right owner. He did not fail catechising his young friend on this occasion. He said he was sorry to see any of his gang guilty of a breach of honour; that without honour priggery was at an end; that if a prig had but honour, he would overlook every vice in the world. But nevertheless, said he, I will forgive you this time, as you are a hopeful lad, and I hope never afterwards to find you delinquent in this great point. Wild had now brought his gang to great regularity. He was obeyed and feared by them all. He had likewise established an office, where all men who were robbed, paying the value only, or a little more, of their goods, might have them again. This was of notable use to several persons who had lost pieces of plate they had received from their grandmothers, to others who had a particular value for certain rings, watches, heads of canes, snuff boxes, etc., for which they would not have taken 20 times as much as they were worth, either because they had them a little while, or a long time, or that somebody else had had them before, or from some other such excellent reason, which often stamps a greater value on a toy than the great Bubble Boy himself would have the impudence to set upon it. By these means he seemed in so promising a way of procuring a fortune, and was regarded in so thriving a light by all the gentlemen of his acquaintance, as by the keeper and turnkeys of Newgate, by Mr. Snap, and others of his occupation, that Mr. Snap one day, taking Mr. Wild the elder aside, very seriously proposed what they had often lightly talked over, a strict union between their two families, by marrying his daughter Tishy to our hero. This proposal was very readily accepted by the old gentleman, who promised to acquaint his son with it. On the morrow on which this message was delivered, our hero, little dreaming of the happiness which, of its own accord, was advancing so near towards him, had called Fireblood to him, and, after informing that youth of the violence of his passion for the young lady, and assuring him what confidence he reposed in him and his honour, he dispatched him to Miss Tishy with the following letter, which we here insert, not only as we take it to be extremely curious, but to be a much better pattern for that epistolary kind of writing which is generally called love letters, than any to be found in the Academy of Compliments, and which we challenge all the beaux of our time to excel either in matter or spelling. Most divine and adorable creature, I doubt not but those eyes, brighter than the sun, which have kindled such a flam in my heart, have likewise the faculty of seeing it. It would be the highest preassumption to imagine you're ignorant of my love. No, madam, I solemnly protest that of all the booties in the universal globe, there is none capable of hateracting my eyes like you. Curts and policies would be to me deserts without your company, and with it a wilderness would have more charms than haven itself. For I hope you will believe me when I swear every place in the universe is a haven with you. I am convinced you must be sensible of my violent passion for you, which, if I endeavoured to hid it, would be as impossible as for you or the sun to hide your booties. I assure you I have not slept a wink since I had the happiness of seeing you last. Therefore, hop you will, out of compassion, let me have the honour of seeing you this afternoon, for I am, with the greatest adoration, most divine creature, your most passionate admirer, adhorer, and slave, Jonathan Wild. If the spelling of this letter be not so strictly orthographical, the reader will be pleased to remember that such a defect might be worthy of censure in a low and scholastic character, but can be no blemish in that sublime greatness of which we endeavour to raise a complete idea in this history. In which kind of composition spelling, or indeed any kind of human literature, hath never been thought a necessary ingredient. For if these sort of great personages can but complot and contrive their noble schemes, and hack and hew mankind sufficiently, there will never be wanting fit and able persons who can spell to record their praises. Again, if it should be observed that the style of this letter doth not exactly correspond with that of our hero's speeches, which we have here recorded, we answer, it is sufficient if in these the historian adheres faithfully to the matter, though he embellishes the diction with some flourishes of his own eloquence, without which the excellent speeches recorded in ancient historians, particularly in Sallust, would have scarce been found in their writings. Nay, even amongst the moderns, famous as they are for elocution, it may be doubted whether those inimitable harangues published in the monthly magazines came literally from the mouth of the Hergus, etc., as they are there inserted, or whether we may not rather suppose one historian of great eloquence hath borrowed the matter only, and adorned it with those rhetorical showers for which many of the said Hergus are not so extremely eminent. End of Book 3, Chapter 6, read by Dennis Sayers in Modesto, California, for LibriVox.